everybody. It is 6:32. We are going to call this meeting to order. Tonight we have 3 projects. The South Hills Phase 2, which is kind of like in the final phase. We have the Rotash, Spolban, and Stonebrook subdivision. I see we have a Mr. Kritikos. Did I say that correctly?
Pretty close.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Hopefully I can blame it on the accent.
Yeah, exactly.
So welcome to the Conservation Board meeting on March 1st. I just want to let you know that we are a consultative board. We do not make any decisions. We just give recommendations to the planning board and they have the final say. Our primary goal is to make sure that all applications meet the criteria based on our town policies and to try and ensure the conservation of our quote unquote real estate of the town of Victor. Mm-hmm. You are representing which project?
Southgate Section 2. Okay. So I'm here on behalf of Reedman Development.
Okay, so that being said, we have 4 members of the Conservation Board here tonight. I myself am the chair. We have Matt Matheson, who's was a past chair. We have Andrew Phillips, is also another past chair, and Tim Norman. So with that, I'll hand over to you for you to give us tell us about your project.
Sure. So we were last in front of you guys for this project back on October 19th, 2021, so just a few months ago. Since that point, we went through and received overall preliminary approval from the town of Victor. We're on the planning board agenda next week for final. We also have obtained a grading permit, so actually some of the site construction and work has already commenced. So the tree clearing has already been completed. They're starting to work on some of the stormwater components, weather depending right now. And we've only been going, I think, for about two weeks of active construction. I think Kim at the town kind of reached out to me and said you guys wanted to kind of probably rediscuss the conservation easements that we kind of touched on last time. We're continuing with the exact same plan that we had when we saw you guys last. So we're going to have 3 different conservation easements that are going to be incorporated into the project. There's 2 that are going to be located on the site. And then there's going to be an additional one that we're going to locate off-site just to make up the remaining balance of the 50% open space requirement. That the applicant has control of quite a number of properties in the area. So we're going to give you guys conservation easement that's basically right over Fish Creek on one of the off-site parcels to help protect that. So the 2 conservation easements on site that we're showing, like I said, they're the same as last time. There's going to be one that we'd like to propose as the more restrictive conservation easement language. That pretty much houses all of the perimeter tree lines on the south portion of the site and along the west portion. If you see right along the left side of your screen there, Fish Creek just touches into our property and then kind of bends back a little bit further away. Yep, that's the center line of that. So if you a little bit to the right of that, you can kind of see where our existing tree line or proposed tree line is, sorry. And we have basically conservation markers that are going to be placed at all the angle points right along there. You can kind of see them. They're little square symbols. So that whole area we're going to protect, preserve. It's going to be, it's already delineated in the field with erosion control measures. It's already been cleared. And that we would like to maintain as the more restrictive language. And then from just on the offsite on the southwest corner of this property, you can see 2 lines that kind of extend straight to the west. That's the other end of the conservation easement that we're going to provide to you guys that's located offsite. You can see Fish Creek runs right down the center of that. So we realized we're never going to develop that. So that's where we wanted to provide some additional, more restrictive easement there. And then the final conservation easement we're going to propose on the site is going to be a conservation stormwater maintenance easement like we've done on some similar projects. That kind of follows along the northern limits of the property. So that's going to have the maintenance drive for the pond, the entire stormwater facility, the bioretention area and pretreatment portion of that. And that runs just kind of, the northern property line, and then it kind of does one jog just to make sure, but it holds all that stormwater facility. We wanted to kind of include that as one of the less restrictive ones. Obviously, any stormwater maintenance that would go on to the pond, but we did want to give those homeowners the ability to kind of mow up and around those practices if they want to maintain it as a little bit more of a lawn space. It's not really going to be, generate a whole lot of extra additional yard space or anything for them because of the stormwater practices, but we wanted to give them that option. So besides that, I mean, I can get back into any of the project specifics if you guys have questions on stormwater or sequencing or anything like that, but I guess I'll turn it back over to you at this point.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I have probably an easy one, and you, James, you probably mentioned it in October, but the driveway just north of the retention pond, is that asphalt or just gravel or?
It's one of the subsurface drives that's per the town's detailed. I believe it's like a stone underlay with like a little bit of topsoil on there, just so it looks like grass, I believe, or a gravel type treatment.
Okay.
How are we planning on marking the conservation easements, especially in that open area, I guess, towards the north? Are you going to use the 4x4 posts, or are you going to use some sort of landmark or boulder or something like that?
Right now, we have the 4x4 posts proposed at every property line and crossing of that conservation easement on all lots for all those easements. The applicant is aware that he can do some more permanent type things, whether it may be like a boulder or something. But at this point, he was just gonna plan on doing the signs unless they, encounter some of those big boulders during construction.
Okay. What kind of length do we have for the? I know we have least restricted on the north, but is there some different language for the south? I see some it might be scrub brush, but some wooded areas, we'll say.
Yeah, we wanted to preserve those. We want to keep all the perimeter trees, and then you got to the west of the site, because of Fish Creek, we have like the riparian buffer that we want to maintain all that. It helps, provide some screening from the golf course. If you ever walk through there, it's littered with golf balls, so it'll also help protect if anybody really sends one sailing. But yeah, we don't have any intent to clear that. We wanted to just preserve it, so we were looking at one of the more restrictive typical languages that you guys are using, just removing, dead tree falls, the type of nuisance things, invasive species, but otherwise I think we're going to just, maintain it as is.
Gotcha.
And James, I think you called it like a proposed tree line, or I thought you said maybe proposed, but you're saying that the trees are there, you only cleared up to that line, and your intent, like you just said, is to keep it that way.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, we cleared a little bit from the existing conditions, like in the lot areas for grading, the cul-de-sac construction, and to give them a little bit of a backyard. But those trees, everything that's out there today, or what's left of not being cleared, is within those easement areas that we are preserving.
And is the grading plan to basically preserve the grade that's there, or is there any kind of swale between the manicured lawn and the existing tree line?
So most of anything on the south end of the site is going to get into some larger storm sewers that bypass through the site. There's a little bit of a drainage contribution from the south. It takes about 20 acres of offsite area that comes below the roadway to the south that routes through the site, and that all ties back into Fish Creek. So we've got like a 30-inch bypass culvert that goes through the site. So anything on the southern end is going to get into that system and then basically go straight north, and then it'll take a turn west down some very, very established ravine that connects right into Fish Creek. The areas to the west of the site, we're just going to let the rear of those houses sheet blow through the woods that are going to remain there. And then all the front yards and then the remaining areas of the site are going to be collected in the proposed storm sewer system, taken to the bioretention area of the pond, and then again released to the north down that existing established ravine. And that's where all the drainage went under existing conditions.
Thanks. Cool. Other than that, I like the, I think I agree with your proposed easements. You know, sounds like we're using off the shelf language, most restrictive on that west side. I would agree with that. Kind of a less restrictive, right? You're saying for the south side?
For the north side, the one that has the stormwater facility, we want to be able to send them out. But the one on the south is all, and the west is all one continuous easement.
Perfect.
That we're going to keep it. So we're going to keep all the screening to the south, just everything. We don't want the homeowners in there to go and clear. We know there's one of the neighbors was very concerned about that. So we just kind of removed that issue completely by putting it in the conservation easement.
Okay. I'm happy with those myself.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I would also add, probably want to have some sort of education of the potential home buyers. I think we've mentioned that a few times in the past.
Yeah, that was one of your comments, I think, when we met with you guys back in October. And yeah, the developer here, obviously with this being the second section and the future section plan, he's well aware of what those requirements are, and they have mechanisms in place when they're doing homeowner education on sale of the lots and things already. So
Sounds good. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, thank you very much. I don't think we have anything else or any comments to make on that. Seems as though you have taken care of a few things that have been of concern to us. So thank you very much, and good luck on your meeting on next Tuesday. Tuesday it is? Monday?
I think it's Tuesday.
Oh.
I'm not positive. But thank you all very much. Appreciate your time. And then if you have any other questions before the planning board meeting, just send them over to Kim and she'll get them over to me.
Yes.
Thanks, James.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We have a Jeff Smith online.
And muted.
I am here now.
There you are.
I was waiting for number 3. What happened at number 2?
I don't think they joined yet. So
Yeah, you got here first.
Well,
yeah,
there
we
you go.
take care of the
Well,
folks that
I'm
took time out.
glad I was ahead of time.
Perfect.
So you're back again. Do you have any new information that you want to present to us?
No, I don't. I was going to say that we're largely, I don't remember the date that we walked with your group, but we pretty much followed through with the nearly identical plan that we had proposed to the town board at the time. The specifics, I guess we had not done the calculations on the exact location of the green space and the exact quantity of the green space, but that has been proposed now in the final planning board sketch plan that you see now. The road configuration is substantially the same. We did listen a little bit to the town board where they had wanted a little more room in the front entranceway, and one of the board members had suggested deleting one of the lots, and we said we would consider that to 84 instead of 85, but instead we kind of pushed things around and made more room at the entrance off East Victor Road. it, no one seems to understand these days how expensive it is to do development. So I mean, not only have we been asked by RG&E to cough up 140,000 for the gap between East Victor Road and Boughton Hill, but also just numerous other things that cost so much money in development. But so we were a little bit resistant to lower the quantity of lots. And I think we achieved it. We were trying to be able to offer a mix of a little bit smaller units, as you see kind of on the north side of the development, and somewhat wider units on the southern side of the development. All will have pretty good privacy behind the lots, regardless of the size of the frontage. And we've calculated the center, the stormwater detention facility there in the center of a little bit less than around 5 acres, is part of what we are proposing to be the open space. And we are still proposing what we had suggested the town board, and that we really feel that this land is appropriate for town dedication. And whether it's, I don't think it would necessarily be an active parkland area, but I think it certainly, it's quality geography. I sent, it has an interesting stream corridor. It has interesting wooded areas, has access from the Auburn Trail. And to us, or me particularly, I guess, I've always felt that it would be appropriate to dedicate it to the town, to have them develop it possibly a little bit more, not necessarily a lot. We've provided access, as you see. There would be access to the stormwater facility where we'll have plantings and some water, obviously. There'll also be access to the existing Sunray Crest. But they're equally, even though it shows as white on your map there, as you look to the north of Sunray Crest, everything beyond those lots is town land already. So that and it hasn't necessarily been developed in any way, but there are 2 right-of-way areas to that town land that exist currently. So there's certainly potential to develop a little bit more trail access, and both off Sunray Crest as well as off of the Auburn Trail for casual kind of walking and enjoying nature. And that, as you can see by as those of you that joined us on the conservation walk, I mean, those trails are being maintained now on private lands. I mean, these people haven't been invited to be there. They're just, it's a natural habitat. And it has enough to beat down regular footpaths. There may be watered in some seasons, but I think in general, it's a very trail-worthy area. So that's what our proposal is, that basically we wouldn't have to deal with conservation easements. We wouldn't have to deal with what rights you have to mow or not mow, and deadfalls or no deadfalls. We would provide that opportunity to the town to utilize the acreage. And quite honestly, if they don't accept it, that's okay. But then we'll probably dedicate it to a couple, 2-3 lots, and deal with the conservation signage as necessary and the conservation limits as necessary. But to me, that just seems kind of short of what the potential for the land is. So that's what we're proposing. We're proposing that we have some NIC acreage, rather than making it only owned by a few. We would give the potential to the town. And we're assuming also that there's a little acreage on the other side of the creek that would be Farmington. And that's our 50% set aside, that we would approach Farmington as well, and they could assume it with their Farmington parkland that they have already. So it's pretty simple. I mean, from our perspective, it would, it would save that issue of having conservation easements and rules and regulations for the land, and it would give that authority to the town of Victor.
So just so I'm calibrated here, 'cause I wasn't on the sidewalk and I apologize, but what you're talking about, the area of dedication would be that middle area where the stormwater man.
No, it would be the entire 50 acres. What you're looking at the map, and it's hatched in that diagonal accent. And do you want to bring up that photo again, Matt, or whoever had it?
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly.
If you look at that, everything with the diagonal hatch on it would be town lands. To the left of that vertical town of Victor and town of Farmington boundary would be Victor town lands, and to the right would be Farmington town lands. But essentially, there are approximately 100 acres in the town of Victor, right there where the mouse is going up and down. To the left of that is 100 acres. We, in the white space of the roads and the lots, is approximately 50 acres, and the diagonal hatched areas, including in between the streets there, is approximately 50 acres. So that acreage of the stormwater management facility, we felt it was appropriate to put that with the town as well. It's otherwise, again, it's kind of silly to divvy that up among a number of lots when it's essentially for public purpose anyway. But that there's approximately 45 acres of space surrounding our streets in the town of Victor that we would propose dedicating to the town, and approximately 15 acres to the right of the town line there that we would propose giving to the town of Farmington. So everything in the hatch mark would be public lands. And there would therefore really be no reason for conservation easements and regulations. They're essentially whatever they would be within town zoning.
Hey, Jeff, have you had a chance, have you proposed this yet, officially to the
Well,
board?
we're proposing it as part of the planning process. I mean, essentially, that's what our proposal of the planning board says. That's what we said to the town board back in the day that was rezoned. I mean, we haven't changed our tune any. I think that no one ever gave an affirmative one way or the other, Parks and Rec or your board or the planning board. I think they needed to see the full proposal. And this is now the sketch plan of that full proposal. It really hasn't altered any, just in substance, that we are following through what we had suggested. We think that this land could be a nice preserve, whether I noticed, I mean, I think even on that walk, I mean, some commentary from people in the Parks and Rec was that, well, Victor's already got so many acres per capita, and we're one of the higher towns of having parkland, and we don't really need parkland. Well, that's okay, but I'm not suggesting that this is active parkland that you have to mow and maintain. I'm suggesting that it's a way to preserve acreage that has pretty interesting features. It's simple as that. And instead of having it carved up into a bunch of conservation easements where nobody can walk on the creek or next to the creek, I'm just suggesting, why wouldn't you want it as a public asset? So we're flexible, quite honestly. I mean, if the town board and the town planning board and the conservation board and Parks and Rec all say, no, we don't want any town land, fine. Then I will quite honestly, I'm not going to divvy it up to 50 pieces because that'll be 100 more stakes I have to put out there to say conservation limit, don't go beyond this point. I will put it into several large parcels who will be able to put up posted signs and have nobody access it. I mean, and that's okay. If that's what the town of Victor wants, I'm flexible. But our point is, why not? It would be a potential asset for the town. It could have, now admittedly, the primary access right now is on the Auburn Trail, slightly over the town boundary. Now, I don't know if there's a lot of competition here, but still, the fact is that signage could be coordinated with the town of Farmington, that essentially that trail would wander from Farmington into Victor properties and loop over to Sunray Crest. And there are sidewalks there. There will be sidewalks within our community. To me, it'd be a nice little, off trail to the Auburn Trail. So Andy, does that make sense? I mean, do you see what we're seeing on the map then?
Yeah, I understand that now. I appreciate it. I guess the other comment, and Matt, you probably run into this before. I think we've run into this, you and I, on a couple previous few years ago. I mean, it doesn't really come down to the conservation board to give that recommendation. I think it really comes down to the town board and probably planning board a bit. But I know we've run into this at least one other time that I can think of, in one other development.
Right. I just know, well, I've heard that the town doesn't have appetite to take over those lands, but I like your proposal. I'm not speaking for the board at all, but just personally, I like the proposal of having it there for use instead of, like you said, posted signs, which would inevitably go up. Yeah, I don't think we weigh in on it officially at all.
Well,
it's been my experience.
Right. I think, well, Matt, I mean, I guess I agree and disagree. I mean, I think these, planning board, town board, they all cycle through the conservation board as they should. I think they're asking for review and comment. And admittedly, it's not like they need your approval, but on the other hand, I think it's worthy of saying what you think. I mean, if maybe you can't come to that as a board as a whole, but if you can, I don't think it would hurt. But you're right, there'll be other review and comment. The Parks and Rec will review and comment, and the planning board essentially will, I think ultimately will be a town board decision based on input from a variety of boards. So that's all I'm saying, is that currently this is what we're proposing to the planning board. If there is a lack of support, then we will still have essentially the same plan, but we will divvy up the green space in private lands. That's simple.
Got it.
So, I mean, I would hope for your guys' support, but if not, then we'll deal with the terminology of the conservation easements next.
Yeah.
So
I think I'll second what Matt said, or what Matt says. I think it makes sense, especially with some of the creeks and the land features and whatnot. I think that amount of acreage, and this is just my opinion, personal opinion here, that amount of acreage to be taken over to dedicate to the town might be on the high side. I would probably challenge you to find a way to reduce that amount of acreage and preserve that some of the streams and the features that are there.
Well, we could do that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, like a hybrid type thing. So if the town's appetite for something less, you could add some to one of the lots and the town takes the rest. That's could be a nice compromise as well. Yeah,
exactly. It's a compromise. I think you got to find out where that is, but that's what I just my 2 cents here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Matt and Andrew, you know, and as the conservation board, I think, you know, giving over that land is the best way to preserve it and allow, you know, hopefully more townspeople to enjoy it. But, you know, I'm not aware of all the nuance that goes into that decisions. You know, I'm sure the lawyers get involved and the assessor and everything, but from a pure conservation standpoint, you know, I would certainly support it.
Well, we again, it will not, it really wouldn't affect us at all. Our parameters here are largely based on road frontage and not based on the lot size themselves. But I can tell you, as I look at alternatives of hybrid, we would tend to not do a whole lot of just you know, 80 conservation easement lots, because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's hard,
Right.
you know, we've dealt with this in Pittsford, we've dealt with it in Victor. I mean, it's hard for the towns to enforce conservation easements on somebody's backyard. And also for me, it's just 2 more stakes of, you know, $500 of spending on stakes that people largely ignore, and towns have a hard time supporting them. So that, you know, I can tell you one thing that's not going to happen is I'm not going to push the lot lines back 100 feet and say, you got 100 feet of conservation easement and 20 acres less of town land. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So if anything, it would be that we carve it up and maybe we save the stream corridor for the town, but quite honestly, at that point, it'd be easier for me to just say there's 3 lots here that each of them have 15 acres. And so be it. You know, if the town has no interest in it, I'm not going to fight it.
Right.
That's silly. I mean, it's not on. I can tell you an example. It's a little outside your parameters, but it's no different than we have a gravity access for sewer there to the town of Farmington sewer, which actually was deeded in the town of Victor's approval for access to that sewer. Well, Farmington is saying, well, they'd like to save that sewer for themselves. Okay, well, that means now we're pumping 85 lots into a pump station system that the town of Victor now has to pay for. Doesn't cost us any difference, but it was stupid, political. So whatever you guys want, we'll do. Simple as that.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Are you on the Tuesday?
On the 22nd, I think we're on for planning board.
Okay, that'll be an interesting one to see.
Well, I don't think there'll be a whole lot of, I mean, I think things will go largely okay with the proposal. I think the only one of the few points of feature will be, you know, what happens to the open space. The sewer is kind of taking a different track anyway, and that, as I understand from Jack Marin, has largely been resolved. So.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I mean, other than the one issue that we're talking about right now, I like how you've got it sort of clustered and kind of pulled away from the natural resources. And however the town ends up moving forward with that, I like the idea of having them away from that. So you've done a nice job. And I was on that site walk. And
right. If you look at the topography and geography of the area, I mean, the vast majority of this is open farmland. We're doing a little clearing and a little grading on the southern portion, but other than that, these are open lands, and we're truly trying to preserve the interesting geography here. So
good. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it. I'm sorry if I get into politics sometimes, but it's frustrating. You know, you don't know all the regulations that we have to deal with these days. Some of them are pretty crazy.
No worries. Keith, anything else? Are you good with moving on? Wait, you're on mute, Keith.
Yes, I think we are good. unless anyone else have any other comments, I think we're good to go on this one.
right.
Just a real quick comment. Sorry, there was a resident comment on the flooding basements on Suncrest or
We've taken care of that.
yeah, I saw that was noted, and so just wanted to bring up that, we're happy that you met those
Well,
concerns and addressed them.
I mean, quite honestly, a good part of that was because of the poor engineering of Fieldcrest and Sunraycrest to begin with. These are natural drainage courses away from our property that haven't been properly taken care of on their property. So what we're doing is we're reversing that drainage to bring it towards our stormwater system. But it really had nothing to do with this parcel and everything to do with their parcel. But yes, we've addressed that, and we will. There's actually another issue that also doesn't have to do with this on the other side of the road too, that we're trying to have others address during the process. But okay, well, thanks, guys. I appreciate whatever input you may have with the planning board.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jeff.
Thanks, bye-bye. Okay. Are we good? No. Any final comments anyone wants to make to forward to the planning board? I think he pretty much wrapped everything up. So I personally don't have anything else to add to it.
Yeah.
So what do we? Is it premature to make a comment on his proposal, or I mean nothing formal, but just do we make comment of it now, or wait till we're further along? And we can think about it in chat.
I
Yeah,
think
I'm not sure either.
the fact that I don't think he'll be coming back to the conservation board after this. So if this is his last visit, this is when we get a chance to make a comment.
Oh, is this final?
Oh, I think this is preliminary, right? Let's see here. This
Go
is,
ahead. Oh no, the next person was final. This is preliminary.
yeah.
Hold on, let me check the agenda.
Southgate was final. I think this one's sketch. So he'll be back.
Yeah.
Should be.
Okay. Well, then there's not much to talk about here then. I'm fine. We had one more, which is the road tash, but I don't see anybody here. Do we want to put it off until they show up next time, or do you want to go through it? Because it'd be nice to at least hear from them. And
It sounded like he may not be good with Zoom, so I don't know if a next time will help.
I mean, I did take a look at it. It again, like so many of these outbuildings that we've been seeing lately. I mean, I didn't see any issue with it. Based on his letter of intent, it looks like he's trying to place it where he can make as little disruption as possible. Heavily treed land. He's trying to place it where there are no trees. I didn't see, it's not in any kind of easement, right? He's not asking to have it in any easement or LDD or anything, right?
So I'm gonna two things here. I'm gonna recuse myself. This is my father-in-law's cousin, and I actually was kind of coaching him through and trying to give him where to put this. So I can, in some quasi ways, represent what he's doing.
And I definitely don't like where he put it. Just kidding, of course.
Bad advice he got.
Yeah, bad advice.
No, that's effectively how he's trying to, be as try not to make too much of a footprint here. There's no conservation easement. In terms of floodplains and whatnot, I think he's in a really good, he's in a good spot. I don't think there's many other spots he can really go with this, and not have to take out a tree or, make some serious dirt changes or, great.
Yeah, I kind of had similar thoughts reading through. He's trying to protect as many trees as he can. I know it doesn't come into our purview, but he's proposing it to be in front of the house, correct? So I don't know if there's a rule, if that requires a variance or not, but
Yeah, I'm not sure
for
either.
us, but from a conservation standpoint, I don't really have any comments. I like with what he's doing.
Yeah, so that did require actually a variance, was a land use variance, just because you're right, you can't put any kind of structure in front of your house. Although it was reviewed by the Victor. I'm drawing a blank here,
Zoning board.
Yes, zoning board. Sorry, long day. Zoning board, and I know you went to the Ontario County Planning Board, and I think he had a few comments, but I think he got through okay without any issues. So, but yeah, and I think what the mitigating factor there was the fact that it's so far back,
Right.
So you can't really see it else, and I think or see it from the road rather. So, and it is fairly close. The other mitigating factor is if you did go behind the house, then it's you're cutting trees, or you're manipulating the land more than you want to. So.
Yep. So
Okay.
yeah, no other comments for me.
I don't have
Right, me neither. I mean, I support the placement of it, and the building itself, I don't see creating any impact, so I don't have any problem with the building. It would really, for me, just come down to placement, and based on what I read, even before Andrew spoke, I like where the placement is.
Same here. I think letter of intent was a good captured what he's trying to do. Very simple. Want to put up a building, no disruption, just X, Y, Z, and then that's it. So for me, I think it was pretty straightforward. There was much to debate on that per se. So that is it. I think we can just say that we have no comments at this time regarding the road touch metal bond with concrete floor request. That being said, we have one more on the agenda, which would be the approval of minutes for last. If you have a chance to read it.
Yep.
Okay.
My only comment was I wonder if we are able to put site walk notes. I guess maybe not. Maybe I'm answering my own question, but if we want to put the site notes or at least reference the site walk notes in the minutes. I mean, I see it was referenced that we had planned a meeting and then we provided the notes. So other than that, I thought they were fine.
That's a good idea. One package.
Yeah, might make it easier for someone looking for information on that particular project to see the meeting notes there with the actual meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I read through them. I had no comments.
So I'll make a motion that we accept them unless you have anything else, Keith.
No.
Okay.
I'll second that.
There you go.
Okay, so motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstains? Any rejections or any abstentions? No. Okay, so minutes approved. Is there anything from the town board that we should be aware of? Okay, I guess not. So that being said, does anyone have anything they want to bring to the team to discuss tonight? Are we pretty much good tonight? Okay,
I'm good.
well, I would say we can call the meeting to an end. Do I have a motion to end the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
There you go.
All right, so meeting has come to an end at 7.